7 touches that make a mature woman feel deep emotional attraction. Psychology tricks. It may sound surprising, but one truth about mature women is rarely spoken out loud. A woman who has lived, loved, and learned through life does not fall for words alone. She has already heard the compliments. She has seen the charming messages and the carefully planned dinners where a man tries too hard to say the perfect thing. After years of experience, words alone no longer move her the way they once might have. What truly reaches her heart is something far more instinctive and powerful: touch. Not careless touch. Not the awkward, rehearsed kind someone copies from a movie. What creates real emotional attraction is intentional, thoughtful touch that silently communicates feelings words struggle to express: safety, calm confidence, warmth, and genuine desire. As the writer Leo Buscaglia once said, too often we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, all of which have the potential to turn a life around. Psychology strongly supports this idea. In a well-known experiment led by Dr. Docker Keltner at the University of California, Berkeley, researchers asked strangers to communicate emotions using nothing but a brief touch on the forearm: no words, no facial expressions, no eye contact. The results were remarkable. Participants were able to correctly recognize emotions such as gratitude, compassion, affection, and sympathy nearly 78% of the time. Think about that for a moment. A simple touch often communicates more clearly than a carefully chosen sentence. This is why some men seem to build deep emotional connection with ease, while others say all the right things yet still hear the familiar "you're a great friend" response. The difference is rarely in their vocabulary. It lies in their presence and the way they express emotion without speaking. For a mature woman, someone who understands her own feelings and no longer responds to superficial charm, this kind of silent communication resonates on a much deeper level than it would for someone much younger. But before exploring the 7 specific touches that can awaken this kind of emotional connection, there is an important warning. 2 of the touches on this list are so simple that many men overlook them entirely. That would be a mistake. Interestingly, those are often the ones mature women describe as the most emotionally powerful, even though they appear almost ordinary on the surface. And the final touch, number 7, has such a profound psychological impact that many relationship counselors actually recommend it to couples struggling to reconnect emotionally. With that in mind, let us begin with the first touch, the one that quietly changes how she starts to feel about you. The first touch, what I call the slow lower back guide. Where there is great love, there are always miracles. That quiet truth, often attributed to the writer Willa Cather, reminds us that the smallest gestures can create the deepest emotional impact, and when it comes to understanding female psychology, few gestures speak louder than the first touch every thoughtful man should learn: the slow lower back guide. Many men dismiss this as ordinary politeness, but that is a mistake. Do not underestimate the power of subtle physical communication. A mature woman has already heard every compliment. She has listened to the clever lines, the rehearsed charm, the impressive speeches. Words alone rarely move her anymore. What reaches her is presence. What reaches her is intention. And this is where one of the most effective psychology tricks quietly enters the picture. When you place your hand gently on the small of a woman's back, perhaps as you guide her through a doorway, help her navigate a busy room, or simply walk beside her, you are touching one of the most sensitive areas of the human body. The lower back contains a dense network of nerve endings connected to emotional processing centers in the brain. This means the message of that touch travels faster than logic. It bypasses analysis. It speaks directly to instinct. But do not rush this moment. Speed matters. Pressure matters. Awareness matters. A quick tap feels casual and forgettable. Too much pressure feels intrusive. But a calm, steady placement of your palm, warm, relaxed, confident, creates something entirely different. It communicates attention without words. It says, "I see you. I am aware of you. I am here." That is the difference between random contact and meaningful connection. According to modern studies on female psychology, the nervous system responds strongly to gentle, intentional touch. When the brain interprets that touch is safe and respectful, it begins releasing oxytocin, the bonding hormone that helps people feel calm, connected, and emotionally open. That chemical shift is one of the quiet psychology tricks behind how attraction often begins. It is not manipulation. It is biology meeting presence. For a mature woman, this experience can be especially powerful. Remember this: many women in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond have spent years being the responsible one. They have carried families, careers, responsibilities, and expectations. They have been strong for everyone else. They have handled life alone more often than they ever expected. Because of that, emotional safety becomes incredibly valuable. When a man gently places his hand on her lower back with calm confidence, the gesture does not feel controlling. It feels grounding. It feels supportive. It quietly tells her, you do not have to handle everything by yourself in this moment. That message is subtle, but its emotional weight is enormous. And if you truly want to understand how to fall in love in a way that resonates with a mature woman, you must understand this principle: love is not built only through grand gestures. It grows through small signals repeated consistently. A thoughtful touch, a calm presence, a steady energy. Do not perform the gesture like a rehearsed technique. Be natural, be attentive, be respectful. That is what makes the moment meaningful. In fact, many relationship experts who study female psychology explain that women often remember how a man made them feel during small interactions more vividly than anything he said. A gentle touch on the lower back during a crowded evening event, a steady guiding hand while walking together. These moments create emotional memory. They create association. Over time, her mind begins linking your presence with calm, warmth, and security. That is one of the deepest psychology tricks behind long-term attraction. It is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is quiet consistency. I once came across a story from a woman in her late 40s who described a moment like this. She said a man simply placed his hand lightly on her back as they walked into a restaurant together. Nothing dramatic happened. No grand romantic speech followed. Yet she described feeling something she had not experienced in years: a sense of being chosen, noticed, and gently protected at the same time. That moment stayed with her far longer than flowers ever had. This is why understanding how to fall in love from a psychological perspective requires more awareness than most men realize. Attraction is not just visual. It is emotional chemistry built through signals the nervous system understands before the mind does. So remember the lesson here. Do not rush physical contact. Do not treat touch casually. Use it intentionally. Be calm. Be aware. Be present. When done with genuine respect, the slow lower back guide becomes far more than a polite gesture. It becomes a quiet language of connection. And in the subtle world of female psychology, that language often speaks louder than words ever could. The second touch, the two-handed handhold. The second touch is the two-handed handhold, and surprisingly, this simple gesture is criminally underrated. Most people think holding hands is romantic. But honestly, that alone is nothing special. Teenagers hold hands walking through a shopping mall. Couples do it absent-mindedly while checking their phones. That kind of contact carries little meaning. What we are talking about here is something entirely different. This is when you gently take her hand and then bring your other hand over it, cradling her hand between both of yours. Two hands holding one. Not rushed. Not careless. Intentional. Maybe it happens in the middle of a conversation when she shares something personal. Maybe it appears during a quiet moment when the world around you fades into the background. Or maybe it happens right after she opens up about something vulnerable. When done right, the gesture is simple but incredibly powerful. Do not rush it. Be calm. Be present. That is the difference between empty contact and meaningful touch. This works because of something psychologists call bilateral stimulation. When both of your hands are engaged and holding hers, the brain receives symmetrical sensory input from both sides of the body. That signal does something subtle but profound. It tells the brain that attention is focused and balanced. Therapists actually use similar techniques in EMDR therapy, a method designed to help people process emotional memories and trauma. The science behind it is fascinating. When both sides of the body are stimulated evenly, the brain tends to relax. Emotional processing becomes easier. The nervous system settles. In everyday language, it simply feels safe. So when you cradle her hand between both of yours, you are not just touching her. You are sending a very clear message without speaking a single word. You are safe here. I am here with you. My attention is fully yours. For a mature woman, that signal can be almost overwhelming in the best possible way. Many women have spent years with men who were physically present but emotionally absent. The body sat at the dinner table, but the mind was somewhere else. Maybe scrolling a phone, maybe thinking about work, maybe half listening while planning something unrelated. Over time, a woman becomes used to this divided attention. She expects it. She adapts to it. And eventually, she stops hoping for anything deeper. That is why this simple two-handed gesture can hit so strongly. When you hold her hand with both of yours and maintain eye contact while she speaks, you are offering something rare, undivided presence. No distraction, no hurry, no performance, just calm, grounded attention. And this is exactly the kind of quiet confidence that defines a high-value man. Do not underestimate the psychological contrast this creates. She has likely experienced years of half-hearted affection, quick hugs, distracted touches, automatic gestures that carried no emotional weight. But when she feels both of your hands wrapped around hers with warmth and intention, something inside her brain reacts immediately. It notices the difference. It recognizes the sincerity. And that contrast alone can make the moment unforgettable. Her mind begins to register something important. This feels different. Not louder. Not more dramatic. Simply more real. A high-value man does not rely on flashy moves or rehearsed lines to attract women. He uses presence. He uses awareness. He understands that the most powerful signals are often the quiet ones. Notice the deeper layer here. This touch is not about control or display. It is about reassurance. Be steady. Be grounded. Let your masculine energy show through calmness rather than force. When you cradle her hand, your body language communicates stability. Your attention communicates respect. And your patience communicates confidence. These qualities create emotional safety, which is one of the strongest forces in attraction. Many men think attraction comes from saying impressive things. That is not always true. Often, attraction grows from how a woman feels when she is near you. Safe, seen, understood. When those emotions appear, attraction follows naturally. That is how a man with real masculine energy begins to attract women without trying too hard. There is also an important rule here. Do not rush the moment. Do not turn it into a performance. The power of this gesture lies in its authenticity. If you grab her hand dramatically or exaggerate the movement, the magic disappears. Instead, be natural. Let the moment develop organically. Take her hand gently. Then bring your other hand over it slowly, like you are protecting something valuable. Because in that moment, you are protecting something valuable, her openness, her trust, her willingness to be emotionally present with you. This is the quiet discipline of a high-value man, understanding when to act, when to slow down, and when to simply be present. And here is where the deeper transformation happens. Once a mature woman's brain registers that sense of difference, once it feels the sincerity behind your presence, it becomes very difficult for anyone else to compete with that experience. Flashy gestures fade quickly. Clever lines are forgotten. But emotional safety leaves a lasting imprint. When she remembers how it felt to have both of your hands holding hers while you listened fully, that memory carries weight. It becomes a reference point, a quiet standard. And once that standard exists, the mind begins to recognize who truly stands out. That is why a calm man with genuine masculine energy often becomes far more attractive than someone constantly trying to impress. Because real connection is not loud. It is steady. It is intentional. And sometimes it is as simple as holding one hand, with both of yours. If this touched something in you, take a second and make it real. A mature woman doesn't remember fancy words. She remembers how a man made her feel in quiet moments. The man who gives his full presence already stands apart. So drop this in the comments right now. Real attraction begins with real presence. Like the video, subscribe for more timeless psychological insights, and remember this: any man can hold a hand, but the man who holds it with intention becomes unforgettable. Speech balloon. Touch number 3. The one that catches most women completely off guard. Touch number 3 is the one that surprises most women in the most powerful way because it is simple yet deeply meaningful: the forehead touch. Not a kiss, not a dramatic gesture, but the quiet moment when you gently press your forehead against hers, close enough that the noise of the world fades and both of you naturally slow your breathing. It is calm. It is still. It is deeply human. In a world that constantly rushes, this moment forces both people to pause. And that pause is exactly where emotional attraction begins to grow. Relationship expert Dr. Sue Johnson, the founder of emotionally focused therapy, explains that certain small interactions create what she calls bonding moments, brief experiences that activate the human attachment system in powerful ways. In other words, a simple gesture can awaken feelings of safety and emotional connection that words often fail to reach. The forehead touch does exactly that. It requires closeness, real closeness. You cannot do it casually from across a table. You must step in. You must slow down. You must allow silence. For a mature woman, this matters more than most men realize. She has heard compliments for decades. She has experienced charming words, clever lines, and carefully planned romantic gestures. Those things no longer impress her the way they once did. What moves her now is presence. What moves her now is emotional calm. What moves her now is a man who is comfortable with intimacy without rushing to control it. When you gently rest your forehead against hers, you communicate something rare in modern dating. I am here. I am calm. I am not in a hurry. That message carries enormous weight. As the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once wrote, waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. The forehead touch reflects that exact idea. It is not about performance. It is about presence. A man with an iron mind does not chase reactions. He creates quiet certainty. This is the spirit of old Stoic wisdom. Calm energy attracts deeper than loud energy ever could. Think about modern life for a moment. People are constantly checking phones, rushing conversations, filling silence with nervous talking. Very few people are comfortable simply being present with another human being. That is why this gesture feels so powerful when done correctly. It breaks the pattern. It creates stillness in a chaotic world. And stillness is magnetic. When a woman feels that stillness from you, her nervous system relaxes. Her guard lowers naturally. Attraction deepens because emotional safety is being communicated without a single word. This is not about technique. It is about mindset. A man practicing Stoicism understands that real strength is quiet. Loud confidence tries to prove itself. Quiet confidence simply exists. When you place your forehead gently against hers and allow the moment to breathe, you are demonstrating emotional discipline. You're showing patience. You are showing control over your impulses. These qualities signal maturity, and maturity is incredibly attractive to a woman who has already experienced enough drama in life. Remember this principle clearly. Do not rush the moment. Do not turn it into something else too quickly. Do not interrupt the silence because you feel nervous. Stay present. Stay calm. Let the moment settle. A man with an iron mind understands that emotional connection grows in silence just as much as in conversation. The famous writer Rumi once said, "Silence is the language of God. All else is poor translation." In relationships, silence can also be the language of trust. The forehead touch speaks that language. It tells her you are not trying to impress her. You are simply connecting with her. That difference is everything. For men between 35 and 70, this lesson becomes even more important. Attraction at this stage of life is no longer built on flashy behavior or exaggerated charm. It is built on emotional steadiness. Women who have lived through real experiences recognize authenticity quickly. They recognize when a man is centered. They recognize when a man carries the calm strength described in old Stoic wisdom. And when they feel it, their attraction becomes deeper and more sincere. So understand the deeper lesson behind this gesture. The forehead touch is not magic because of the movement itself. It is powerful because of the energy behind it. Be calm, be present, be intentional. Let your actions speak the quiet confidence of Stoicism win. When your mind is steady and your presence is grounded, your gestures naturally carry emotional weight. This is how connection forms. Not through noise, through stillness, not through pressure, through patience. Develop that iron mind. Practice that calm presence in every part of your life. Touch number 4, the back of the neck touch. Touch number 4 is the back of the neck touch, and if you truly want to understand the quiet power of attraction, you must understand why this one is so psychologically potent. The nape of the neck is not just another place on the body. It is one of the most sensitive and vulnerable areas a human being has. It is filled with nerve endings, and more importantly, it is an area people cannot easily see or protect. Because of that, the brain treats it as a zone of deep vulnerability. When someone is allowed into that space, the mind instantly begins a silent evaluation. This is where female psychology becomes fascinating. A mature woman does not simply react physically. Her brain runs a fast emotional calculation. Am I safe? Do I trust this man? Does this feel comforting rather than intrusive? When a man gently places his fingers or his palm on the back of her neck, perhaps while sitting close beside her during a conversation, perhaps when leaning in to share something quietly, her mind processes those signals faster than words ever could. And if the answers inside her mind are yes, yes, and yes again, the emotional response is immediate. Her breathing subtly slows. Her pupils widen without her realizing it. Her body releases dopamine and oxytocin together, the exact chemical combination responsible for emotional bonding and romantic attachment. These are the small biological details behind what many people simply call attraction, but in reality, they are powerful psychology tricks rooted in human nature. This is why understanding female psychology matters if you truly want to know how to fall in love and create a connection that feels real rather than forced. But here is the critical lesson. Timing is everything. Do not misunderstand the power of this gesture. Do not rush it. Do not misuse it. A man cannot walk up to a woman he just met and casually place his hand on the back of her neck. That is not charm. That is not connection. That is discomfort. Attraction grows through trust, not shortcuts. A mature woman immediately recognizes the difference between genuine closeness and premature familiarity. This touch only works after a certain emotional bridge has already been built. There must already be conversation. There must already be comfort. There must already be the quiet feeling that both people are relaxed in each other's presence. Only then does the gesture feel natural rather than intrusive. This is one of the subtle psychology tricks that many men overlook. They focus on clever words, flashy gestures, or dramatic displays of effort. But the truth is simpler. Attraction often lives in the quiet moments between words. As the writer Annie Sneen once said, love never dies a natural death. It dies because we do not know how to replenish its source. Understanding female psychology is one of those sources. When a woman feels that your touch is calm, confident, and unhurried, something important happens inside her emotional world. She stops analyzing you as a stranger. She begins experiencing you as a presence. That is the shift every meaningful connection requires. Be gentle. Be deliberate. Do not rush the moment. Let the touch be brief but intentional. Let your hand rest there for a second, not as a performance, but as a quiet signal of warmth and reassurance. That is enough. In fact, that is more powerful than most men realize. Because the back of the neck touch communicates several messages simultaneously without a single word spoken. It says, I am comfortable with you. It says, I respect your space. It says, I feel close to you. These signals travel directly to the emotional centers of the brain. They bypass the logical filters that often block verbal compliments. That is why physical communication, when done correctly, can be far more persuasive than long conversations. But remember this principle if you truly want to understand how to fall in love in a natural, grounded way. Attraction grows from safety first. Always. A mature woman must feel emotionally secure before she allows herself to feel romantic curiosity. Safety opens the door. Trust invites connection. Only then does desire appear. This is why the back of the neck touch is so powerful when used correctly. It sits exactly at the intersection of comfort and attraction. And when those two feelings meet, the emotional response can be surprisingly strong. These are the subtle psychology tricks hidden inside everyday interactions, the small details that shape how people feel around you without them even realizing it. Mastering them is not about manipulation. It is about awareness. It is about understanding the emotional language that human beings have used for thousands of years long before dating advice ever existed. So remember this simple rule. Do not rush closeness. Build trust first. Let connection grow naturally. And when the moment is right, a gentle touch on the back of her neck can say more than 100 carefully chosen words ever could. That is the quiet art behind attraction. That is the deeper truth behind female psychology. And for men who truly want to understand how to fall in love, learning to respect timing, comfort, and emotional safety will always matter far more than any clever line or scripted move. If this insight opened your eyes, take a second to like the video, subscribe for more timeless psychology, and share it with someone who needs to understand real connection, not cheap tricks. And to lock this idea into your mindset, drop this line in the comments right now. Real attraction begins with trust, not just touch. Touch number 5. The one I warned you about earlier. Touch number 5 is the one I warned you about earlier. The one that looks almost too simple to matter, yet in the quiet language of human connection, it is nearly unfair in how effective it can be. It is the thumb stroke. Nothing dramatic. Nothing flashy. Just a small, slow movement that carries far more meaning than most men realize. This is not about performance. This is about presence. And a high-value man understands the difference. The thumb stroke usually happens when you are already holding her hand, or when your hand naturally rests on her arm, her shoulder, or even her knee during a calm moment together. You don't announce it. Don't make a show of it. Don't look down like you are checking your work. That ruins the magic immediately. Instead, you simply let your thumb move slowly back and forth across her skin, gentle, steady, almost absent-minded strokes while you continue the conversation. Be calm. Be relaxed. That is the key. A man who carries quiet masculine energy does not need to highlight his actions. He lets them speak on their own. Now here is where things become fascinating. What seems like a tiny gesture on the surface is actually tapping into deep biological wiring inside the human brain. Scientists have identified a special class of nerve fibers in the skin that respond specifically to slow, gentle stroking touch. These fibers are different from the ones that detect pressure or temperature. They are designed for something else entirely: emotional connection. Nature literally built a system inside the human body for bonding through touch. Researchers studying these nerve fibers discovered that slow, rhythmic stroking, exactly the kind created by a thumb gently moving across the skin, activates a region of the brain called the insular cortex. That area is strongly connected to feelings of intimacy, trust, and emotional closeness. In simple terms, when your thumb moves slowly across her skin, her brain begins processing that touch as emotional warmth rather than just physical contact. The signal travels from the skin straight into the emotional center of the mind. No speech required. Think about that for a moment. Words go through analysis. The brain evaluates them, questions them, sometimes even doubts them. But touch travels a different route. It bypasses the debate and goes directly into emotional experience. That is why a mature woman, someone who has heard compliments, sweet talk, and promises for decades, often responds more deeply to quiet gestures than to elaborate speeches. A high-value man understands that connection is not built through noise. It is built through subtlety. And here is the beautiful part, because the thumb stroke is so gentle and understated, she may not consciously notice it at first. She might not look down and say, "Oh, he's stroking my hand." But her brain absolutely registers it. Her nervous system responds. Her body begins to relax. Her emotional guard softens just a little. That is how attraction often begins, not with fireworks, but with a quiet shift in how someone feels around you. Do not rush it. Slow is powerful. The movement should be unhurried, almost lazy. Imagine the calm rhythm of ocean waves rolling onto the shore. That is the energy you want. Quick movements create tension. Sharp movements break the emotional flow. But slow, rhythmic touch communicates safety. It communicates warmth. It signals that you are comfortable being close without needing to force anything. And that calm confidence is exactly what allows a man to naturally attract women. Another reason this gesture works so well is that it feels authentic. There is nothing theatrical about it, nothing rehearsed. It does not look like a technique. It looks like instinct. And instinct is deeply attractive. A woman can sense when a man is trying too hard. She can feel when something is scripted. But when a man carries steady masculine energy, his actions feel effortless. They feel natural. That is the difference between someone who is performing and someone who is simply being himself. Remember this rule: don't overdo it. A single slow stroke every few seconds is more than enough. This is not a massage session. The power comes from restraint. When your movements remain subtle, her mind fills in the emotional meaning on its own. And when a woman begins interpreting your touch as comfort, warmth, and quiet affection, the emotional connection deepens without either of you needing to say a word. That is why the thumb stroke feels almost unfair in its effectiveness. It is tiny. It is quiet. It is nearly invisible. Yet it activates powerful emotional circuits in the brain. It creates a sense of closeness that feels spontaneous rather than forced. And when done naturally by a man who carries calm confidence, it leaves a lasting impression. Because at the end of the day, the men who consistently attract women are not the ones who rely on complicated tricks or flashy gestures. They are the men who understand the quiet language of connection. They know when to speak. They know when to listen. And sometimes, they simply let a gentle thumb stroke say everything that words cannot. Touch number 6. What I call the silent pull. Touch number 6 is what I call the silent pull, and if you understand it deeply, you begin to see why small actions often speak louder than the most polished words a man could ever say. Imagine sitting beside her on a quiet evening, maybe on a couch, maybe on a park bench, maybe standing together at a gathering, and without a speech, without a dramatic gesture. You simply place your arm around her shoulder or rest your hand gently at her waist and draw her a little closer. No announcement, no request, just calm, confident movement. That is the silent pull. And its power lies in something psychologists call proximity seeking, one of the clearest signals of emotional safety in human attachment. When two people feel bonded, they naturally reduce the distance between them. They lean closer. They sit closer. They move toward each other without thinking. When you initiate that closeness calmly and naturally, you communicate a message that no clever line could ever deliver. The space between us felt wrong, so I brought you closer. The famous writer Leo Buscaglia once said, "Too often we underestimate the power of a touch, a smile, a kind word, all of which have the potential to turn a life around." The silent pull is exactly that kind of moment. It is simple. It is quiet. But it carries enormous emotional weight. For many mature women, especially those who have lived through years of complicated relationships, the experience of closeness has often felt conditional. Somewhere along the way, many began to believe affection had to be earned. They had to be charming enough, supportive enough, patient enough, agreeable enough to deserve warmth. But when a man gently pulls her closer simply because he enjoys her presence, something shifts inside her mind. The story changes. The message becomes clear. You don't have to perform. You are wanted simply because you are here. This is where old Stoic wisdom becomes surprisingly relevant. Stoic philosophy has always taught that true strength is quiet, steady, and intentional. The Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." The silent pull embodies that principle. You don't talk about connection, you demonstrate it. You don't explain affection, you express it through calm action. This is exactly the kind of grounded behavior that defines a man who lives with an iron mind. He does not overthink every gesture. He does not hesitate out of fear. He moves with quiet certainty. In modern life, where so many interactions happen through screens, messages, and endless digital noise, a grounded physical gesture becomes even more powerful. People are surrounded by words today, texts, captions, comments, opinions, but meaningful presence has become rare. That is why this small moment of closeness can feel surprisingly profound. It cuts through the noise. It communicates presence. And presence is the language of attraction. Remember this clearly. The silent pull is not about force. It is about calm intention. It is about inviting closeness with natural confidence. Be relaxed. Be steady. Let the movement feel effortless. That is how emotional safety is created. And when a woman feels emotionally safe, attraction grows naturally. This is the deeper lesson behind old Stoic wisdom and the mindset behind Stoicism win. Strength is not loud. Confidence is not dramatic. Real connection happens through composed action. A man with an iron mind understands that leadership in relationships often appears in the smallest gestures. He creates warmth. He creates security. He reduces distance, physically and emotionally. And when you master this mindset, something remarkable happens. The woman beside you does not just feel closer in that moment. She begins to associate your presence with comfort, calm, and certainty. That is the quiet victory that Stoicism win teaches. Master your energy. Move with purpose. Let your actions say what words never could. And never underestimate the power of a simple moment where you close the distance and say, without speaking at all, "You belong right here beside me." If this message resonates with you, don't just listen, act on it. Real attraction is not built through words alone, but through calm confidence and natural closeness. A man who quietly draws a woman nearer shows presence, certainty, and emotional strength. That silent pull says everything without saying a word. So, if you understand the power of this moment, prove it to yourself and to this community. Drop a comment below and write, "When she is with me, she belongs close to my world." Then like the video, subscribe to the channel, and continue sharpening the kind of presence that naturally draws people closer to you. Touch number 7, the long hold hug. So now you have them, 7 touches that may look simple on the surface, yet each one is rooted in real human psychology, supported by neuroscience, and confirmed by the lived experiences of women who understand the difference between empty gestures and genuine connection. These are not random moves. These are subtle psychology tricks that work because they align with female psychology and the natural human longing for safety, warmth, and emotional presence. The beautiful truth is this: none of these touches require money, status, expensive dinners, or perfectly scripted lines. Don't believe the myth that attraction must be complicated. Don't assume you need to impress her with grand displays. Attraction, especially for a mature woman, rarely grows from spectacle. It grows from awareness. It grows from intention. It grows from the quiet ability to slow down and truly notice the person standing in front of you. That is where most men fail today. They rush. They talk too much. They try to perform instead of connect. But you must do the opposite. Be calm. Be deliberate. Be present. That is where these psychology tricks begin to work naturally. When you understand female psychology, you begin to see that touch is not just physical contact, it is communication without words. A gentle hand on the shoulder can say, "I see you." A light pull closer can say, "You're safe here." A calm touch on the back can say, "I'm here with you." These moments matter because they create emotional signals the brain processes instantly. Neuroscience shows that warm, respectful touch releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone. That chemical reaction is one of the quiet biological foundations of how to fall in love. And the key word here is respectful. Don't rush. Don't grab. Don't force the moment. Be subtle. Be aware. Let the moment breathe. A mature woman is highly attuned to authenticity. She can feel the difference between a man who is trying to manipulate the moment and a man who is simply comfortable with himself. And confidence in this context does not mean loudness or performance. It means steadiness. It means patience. It means being relaxed enough to allow connection to unfold naturally. This is why these 7 touches work so effectively. They operate inside the natural rhythm of female psychology, where emotional comfort always comes before deeper attraction. When a woman feels emotionally safe, curiosity grows. When curiosity grows, closeness becomes natural. And that is where the real lesson lies for men who want to understand how to fall in love and how attraction quietly forms between 2 people. The touches themselves are simple, but the mindset behind them is everything. Don't treat them like mechanical techniques. Don't memorize them like a checklist. Instead, understand the deeper principle. These are signals of presence, signals of calm masculine energy, signals that say you are grounded, attentive, and emotionally aware. That combination is rare in modern dating. Many men are distracted. Many are anxious. Many are performing. But a man who understands these psychology tricks and the deeper patterns of female psychology behaves differently. He listens more. He observes more. He allows silence. He allows closeness to build gradually. That is exactly how attraction grows in the real world. Not through pressure, not through speed, through presence, through subtlety, through emotional awareness. And when you master that rhythm, you begin to understand something powerful about how to fall in love. Love is not triggered by dramatic moments. It is built through small signals repeated consistently over time. A warm touch, a calm voice, a steady presence. Those quiet details create the emotional atmosphere where 2 people begin to feel comfortable opening their world to each other. That is the deeper meaning behind these 7 touches. They remind you to slow down, to pay attention, to connect instead of perform. Because at the end of the day, genuine attraction is not about doing more, it is about being more present in the moments that already exist. And when you approach connection with that level of awareness, these simple touches stop being techniques and start becoming something much more powerful, natural expressions of human connection that align perfectly with the deeper truths of female psychology, the subtle science of psychology tricks, and the timeless human process of how to fall in love. All right, my friend, before we close this video, let me leave you with something important. What we talked about today isn't about tricks in the shallow sense. It's about understanding human connection. These 7 touches work because they come from presence, calm confidence, and genuine attention. A mature woman doesn't respond to noise, pressure, or flashy gestures. She responds to a man who is grounded, who moves with intention, and who knows how to make a moment feel real. That is where attraction quietly begins. Remember this, slow down. Pay attention to the energy between you and her. Don't rush. Don't force. Just be present and let your actions carry meaning. When a touch comes from awareness and respect, it speaks louder than 1,000 words. So take this knowledge, use it with sincerity, and focus on building real connection, not just temporary attention. Thanks for spending this time with me today, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay calm, stay sharp, and keep growing.